My dad said, "The greatest gift for your brother's wedding is you vanishing from this family forever." I didn't beg. I packed, grabbed the keys, stepped outside. The door clicked behind me like a final full stop. My name is Sloane Hart. I'm 27. The key in my palm left a crescent on my skin. One small moon I didn't ask for. Streetlights hummed. A stray petal drifted from the neighbor's bougainvillea and stuck to my shoe, pink against the dust. Have you ever had family cross your boundaries and call it love? Tell me in the comments, because tonight I'm measuring love by the weight of silence. Inside, I could still hear cutlery clink, rehearsal chatter, my mother's thin laugh skating over everything. "Don't make a scene, Sloane," she'd said, already turning away. My brother didn't look up. The tux-fitting bag brushed his sleeve. He shrugged like I was lint. I stood by my old car, unlocked it, then didn't get in. The key, my little moon, was warm now. When I blew on it, my breath fogged the metal, and for a second I saw my face reflected. Steady eyes, bitten lip, hair pinned like an apology. I thought of the venue calendar I'd built for them, the vendor deposits I'd floated on my card, the playlists I'd stitched for every moment from aisle to afterparty. The wedding day came. No flowers, no music, no food, only panic. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just finally understood. Removing yourself isn't cruelty. Sometimes it's the only honest gift you have left. The morning of the wedding broke gray, the kind of sky that presses low on rooftops, as if warning everyone not to expect joy. I woke in the tiny sublet I'd rented the night before, a one-room attic that smelled faintly of rain and mothballs. The cracked window let in a draft, and with it came church bells from a block away, ringing steady, oblivious. My phone buzzed. Dozens of unread texts scrolled across the lock screen. Not invitations, not apologies, just panic. Where's the florist? The caterer isn't picking up. DJ says the deposit never cleared. Dad says you need to fix this now. I sat up slowly, letting the chill air brush my shoulders. The irony was bitter. Every contract, every vendor, every detail had been mine. My credit card, my spreadsheets, my late-night calls. Without me, it wasn't a wedding. It was a skeleton dressed in expectation. Another buzz. "Sloane, please. People are arriving. Mom's crying. Do something." My brother's name glowed across the screen. For a heartbeat, guilt flickered. But then I saw it. The motif of the key resting on the windowsill where I dropped it last night. Its metal caught the weak light, sharp, unbending. A reminder. I typed one line back. "You told me the greatest gift was vanishing." I listened. Then I placed the phone face down. Outside, the bells kept ringing, clear and merciless, like a countdown no one could stop. And I let the silence inside me grow louder than all their noise. By noon, the group chat was unraveling. Screenshots from cousins flashed across my phone. Centerpieces half-built, trays of melting ice with nothing to fill them, guests murmuring as they fanned themselves in the heat. I didn't reply, but I read every word. Then came my aunt's voice on voicemail, her drawl sharp as vinegar. "Your mother looks like she's aged 10 years in 2 hours. Do you feel proud? You always had a flair for drama, Sloane." She paused, then added softer, "Still, if you want to come, it isn't too late." I closed my eyes. For years, she'd been the only one to slip me extra cake at birthdays, to ask about my exams. Yet when it mattered, she too folded into their chorus. Their loyalty was elastic, always stretching toward convenience. The key motif glinted again from the sill, its grooves catching the light like tiny scars. I ran my thumb across it and thought, keys open doors, but they also prove you belong. This one no longer fit any lock I wanted. Another ping, this time my brother again. His words were frantic, vows in 20 minutes. Bride's crying. Mom says she can't breathe. Please, please fix this. I almost laughed. Fixing was my role. The invisible glue they never noticed until it dissolved. I slipped the phone into the drawer and shut it, wood against wood. Final. Outside, thunder cracked low, rolling over the city like an omen none of them had budgeted for. The thunder rolled into a storm by afternoon. Sheets of rain pelted down, washing confetti from the church steps before anyone could toss it. I pictured silk gowns darkened to blotches, heels sinking into mud, guests clutching programs that tore like tissue in their hands. My cousin sent a picture, though she didn't mean to. The image popped up in the thread before she could delete it. Rows of empty chairs, the bride's mascara streaking down pale cheeks. Dad standing with his arms crossed, jaws set like concrete, while Mom's hat sagged with water. The caption she forgot to erase read, "This is a disaster." I stared at that picture longer than I should have. A part of me wanted to send tissues, umbrellas, even music links, my reflex to rescue. But the key motif glinted again from my windowsill, reminding me. Doors once locked don't need reopening. At dusk, the texts changed tone. Less command, more plea. Sloan, people are leaving. Then, we can't refund the venue. Please help us explain. My fingers hovered. I typed. You told me vanishing was the greatest gift. So I gave it. Don't return a gift. Then I erased it. Instead, I whispered to the storm outside, letting the sound carry what I didn't. Every swallowed scream, every silenced argument, every quiet departure I had made before this one. And when my phone buzzed again, I didn't move. I let the thunder answer them in my place. By evening, the storm had quieted, leaving the air heavy and damp. I brewed tea in the chipped mug my mother once called too plain for guests, and sat by the window, watching raindrops trail down the glass like racing thoughts. The phone, stubborn, kept buzzing. One message stood out, not from my parents, not from my brother, but from the bride herself. Sloan, I don't know what happened, but I thought you and I were okay. Did I do something? Her words hit differently. She'd been kind, if cautious. She once asked me for song suggestions, and I'd given her the list I made for myself years ago when I still believed in romance. She had no idea my parents had weaponized me against her happiness. I typed and erased, typed and erased. Finally, I left it blank. Because how do you explain decades of erasure in one text? The key motif pressed cold against my palm when I picked up. I thought of locks again, not just doors, but the invisible kind. The kind that seal families into patterns, generations into roles. Mine had been the fixer, the spare, the shadow. That lock had rusted too tight. At midnight, I turned the phone off completely. Darkness pooled in the room, broken only by the city's neon pulse. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost locked outside my own life. I felt like someone who had finally stepped inside it. Morning light slanted across the attic walls, thin and gold, like it had been poured through a crack. I woke to the silence of a phone that no longer hummed. I'd left it off all night, but when I switched it on, the flood began. Missed calls, dozens, messages stacked like bricks of desperation. Vendors are threatening legal action. Dad says the checks bounced. We need you to talk to the bank. I almost pitted them. Almost. Because who had balanced the books when Dad forgot? Who had begged vendors for extra time, scribbled payment plans on scrap paper, and taken cash jobs on weekends just to cover deposits? Me. Their invisible safety net, cut away without ceremony. Then came another surprise. A formal email, sent not to me, but accidentally copied. Notice of breach of contract. The venue was suing for the unpaid balance. Tens of thousands. My father's name, scrawled on the signature line, bold as arrogance. The key motif caught the sunlight from the sill, glowing like it had something to say. It wasn't just a reminder of locks. It was proof of responsibility. I had carried their keys for years. Doors they never touched because they knew I would. Now those doors slammed on them instead. For the first time, the weight wasn't mine to bear. It was theirs, and it was heavy. I sipped the last of my cold tea exhaled, and felt something loosen in my chest. A knot untied by absence. By afternoon, the apologies started to seep in. Not confessions of love, but barbed bargains. "Sloan, you don't understand how much this family sacrificed for you." Then, "We can make this right if you just come back, explain things to the vendors." Their words felt less like bridges, more like ropes cast to pull me back into the pit. I traced the edge of the key motif with my thumb, its grooves sharp against my skin, and thought, some doors aren't meant to be reopened, no matter how sweetly someone knocks. Then a final message landed, stark and cold. "From my brother, you've ruined me. Do you know what it's like to stand at an altar with nothing but whispers around you?" I stared at the screen, waiting for anger to bloom. But instead I felt a strange calm. For years I had been invisible, my labor folded into theirs, credited to anyone but me. Now, finally, I was visible not for what I built, but for what I withheld. The storm had stripped their facade bare. Without my quiet scaffolding, their celebration collapsed into rubble. I closed my eyes and imagined the church doors swinging open, rain still dripping from the eaves, guests filing out in silence, programs crumpled in damp fists, not looking at the bride or groom, looking away. And in that vision I wasn't there, not to fix, not to absorb, not to vanish. I was free. The key gleamed brighter than ever. 2 weeks later a letter arrived. Thick paper, embossed seal, the kind my parents loved for appearances. Inside, no apology, just demand. You must testify the vendors were your responsibility. Otherwise, we face bankruptcy. I sat at my desk, the key motif resting beside the envelope. Its edges caught the late afternoon light like a blade. I thought about every receipt I'd signed, every wire transfer from my account, every silent rescue. They had always assumed I'd shield them, that I'd shoulder the blame, so they could keep their perfect family portrait polished. But this time the portrait cracked. I didn't call. I didn't explain. Instead, I forwarded the contracts I had, every invoice with Dad's name, every deposit linked to his account. Facts, not feelings. My voice was steady in the brief reply to the lawyer. I am not a party to these agreements. That night, I placed the key in a small wooden box and slid it to the back of my closet. No longer a reminder of doors closed to me, but of the strength it took to stop unlocking rooms where I was never welcome. Weeks passed. The lawsuit headlines trickled through relatives. Hart family wedding collapses amid legal dispute. My parents' faces carried strain in every photo, but mine never appeared. And in that absence, I found my clearest presence. Revenge wasn't flames or fury. It was this: quiet clarity, boundaries drawn sharp as glass, and the peace of not answering when they called.